Welcome to the Final Friday Signal Boost. This show is back after a long hiatus. We are here with the Firehouse Theater's buried child, Sam Shepard's Pulitzer Prize-winning play. David Bridgewater, lead actor, who plays Dodge, and the director, Chelsea Burke. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
This play looks heavy. This play looks deep. Family secrets and all kinds of, hidden legacy. What's going on with this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So
tell us about it.
For sure. So this is one of Sam Shepard's family dramas.
And the Sam Shepard.
The Sam Shepard.
The actor.
Yes.
Sam Shepard.
And famed playwright.
Yes.
It first came out in 1978 and then was rewritten in the 90s for the remounting on Broadway. And basically it follows Dodge's family and their farm and looks at kind of the breakdown of a well-to-do farming family and what happens when things happen in families, as they often do, that are dark or aren't allowed to see the light of day, and what happens when that is forced to be kept secret, or for, looking at, not to get too play-titled, but buried. And something that we've talked a lot about is no matter how many Band-Aids you put on a wound, if you don't clean it, it will fester and it will kill you. And that's ultimately kind of what has happened to this family. And it's super fun.
I love that description. Super fun.
Super fun. No, but it is a look at the kind of like disillusion of the nuclear family, of the American dream, of like what it means to be successful and to be thriving, and how we can get in the way of ourselves in achieving that. And what happens when those things come back to haunt you.
So what was behind the choice of this particular play for the Firehouse?
Absolutely. So Carol Pearsall, who was the artistic director for many years at Firehouse, partnered with Nathaniel Shaw last year prior to her passing in helping plan this new inaugural season of kind of relaunching Firehouse in a different way with Nathaniel at the helm. So prior to her passing, Carol and her husband, Maury, helped pick this piece. Carol actually, they produced this piece back in the 90s, about 20 years ago, and it was a huge hit, a seminal production, and it felt like a piece that spoke to her tenure at Firehouse and the work that she wanted to do. And so it was a collaboration, as most theater often is, and this piece is in memory of her. It's kind of been a year-long celebration at Firehouse for the founder, and we're honoring her legacy with this production.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, David.
Hi.
So, David.
I've talked enough.
Nah.
Dodge is a pretty meaty character from what I've read. How has playing him affected you personally?
Oh, my goodness. Well, let me back up just for a second.
Sure.
I'm going to back up. Because whenever you are talking about theater and you use the words like it's dark and it's heavy, sometimes that scares people off, which always fascinates me because those same people will run home to watch Breaking Bad or Games of Thrones or, Mad Men. I personally am drawn to compelling, interesting stories. So, no, it's not Guys and Dolls, but it's provocative and it's brilliantly written, sharp, witty dialogue, a great story full of intrigue and mystery. And for me, anytime I'm looking at a project, the script's the main thing for me. If you don't have a story to tell as a storyteller, you're up a creek, And this, I had read 100 years ago back in college, but I revisited it and was just blown away how it has held up as a very powerful piece of theater. Yeah. And in terms of Dodge, complex character. I didn't think I was necessarily right for the part when I read the play, but Chelsea convinced me otherwise. He's a little bit older than I am in real life, but that's the magic of theater. And yeah, it's going back to this festering wound. It's interesting to me how non-communication can just destroy any relationship, any family. And there's a lot of things that aren't communicated in this complex family that kind of break through the dam towards the end of the play. Yeah, it's very exciting, compelling, and has some really lovely, funny moments in it as well. So don't be scared, people.
Well, I think there's plenty of television shows, plays, stories, what have you, that do center around a family and dysfunctional families, or whatever you want to call it. Every family has their thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, I personally feel like it's something that can touch anyone in any way, any sort of relating, because someone is a daughter, a son, a child, maybe a father, a mother, brother, sister, whatnot. And it sounds like with this particular play, there is a lot of intense family dynamics that might be happening.
Yeah, you see those kind of things in real life. You don't normally see people break into song and dance walking down the street. So, one of my favorite lines in the play is, we all have an instinct for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it on the horizon like the storm is coming.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of family you come from, we've all experienced these kind of dynamics within a family unit. And they can be powerful and heartbreaking. And, yeah.
And I think the interesting thing about this specific family drama is because you're right, like this is a story that we see family stories all the time because it's a very close relationship, especially one that's not romantic. And something we've talked a lot about in the room is everyone's relative truth and their truth within the family and their truth within the story.
Pun intended on that?
It's hey, and taking a look at that to a not quite hyperbolic, but to the most extreme degree, to the point where people aren't recognizing family members or are denying that something even exists or someone even exists as they're standing there in front of them. Seeing those family dramas, that what we want to do when our house is in disarray and smashing teacups and chugging whiskey and having secret cigarettes and all the things that we want to do just kind of get flushed out by the end. And so it feels very satisfying as well, and also harkens back a little bit to some of those like mythological, like Greek tragedies of there is a prophecy, this thing is true, and until it is done, this place cannot move on, cannot thrive. So I think it's not just a family drama, it escalates it to a degree that I think you can only really do in theater. I think even in other pieces of media, film or TV, people might get turned off by it, but because you're in the room and living it with the people, I think it's really exciting.
And how many players are in this production? How many actors do you have?
So we have 7. There are the 4 core family members. So Dodge and Hallie, who are the patriarch and matriarch, their 2 sons, or 2 of their sons, I should say, Tilden and Bradley. Dodge's expected grandson, or supposed, I'm using air quotes, folks on the internet, grandson Vince, and his also air quotes girlfriend Shelley, and then a local pastor named Father Dewis. And it's how these outsiders kind of penetrate this bubble and break apart what has been hidden over the years and how it fleshes those things out.
And like you're saying, it always comes to the surface.
Yeah, you can't keep it down. It's gonna come out eventually. So just own it up front.
Yeah. Or in destructive coping mechanism ways, like you were mentioned, breaking stuff or drinking or all those things.
Also, so, this play has been on since, what was it, 1978, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's been done multiple times. How do you, Chelsea, as a director, put your stamp on it?
So I'm also, for those at home, I'm 35. And so there were some questions not questions from anybody involved, but like, hey, like this is someone of your generation hasn't necessarily directed this, or at least within kind of the tri-state area. And so what I'm kind of looking at is through a modern lens of like the way we're talking about generational trauma now and trying to break those things generationally, this kind of movement of gentle parenting, of coming out and talking about things, about talk therapy, and the way that we are kind of evolving emotionally as a society, I think is really interesting and is definitely something that I'm plugging into, especially Vince, the grandson, and kind of a couple moments towards the end of the piece. And also kind of looking at in the context of, I also feel like we're kind of in this time where inflation is high, birth rates are down, there's an additional breaking or straining of what the modern American dream looks like. And that's so much about what this piece is about, is the dissatisfaction and not getting what we were promised. And so I think it is just as relevant today as when it was first written, when it was rewritten in the 90s. These things continue to come back around. But my hope, I'm ultimately an optimist, and there is a line in the play is you are all the same, you hopers. You just keep on hoping. And so while there is definitely a reckoning and loss and a lot of, compelling but ultimately dramatic moments at the end and questions hanging in the air of what is going to happen to this family, I have infused that with a little bit of hope of, you can break those cycles, you can move forward, you can choose to be different, you can look at the thing that is broken together and say, how do we mend it? So that's kind of what I'm bringing into this a little bit. It is interesting, especially from Dodge and Hallie's point of view of like, I think in the audition notice, I said, this is Dodge, he's the patriarch, stubbornness will kill him. Or, that Hallie, that, her ties to religion will kill them. And there is something that each of these characters are stuck to, that if they stick by those guns, it will be the end of them. So trying to find the ways that maybe we break from that is a way that I've kind of been attacking this. And then also the last piece is there is like a functional truth in this play and a elevated truth or a mystical truth that we've had to kind of reckon with as a company. So I've also been playing kind of the shepherd of that, or the communicator between those two worlds of what is true functionally in this space and then what is each person's kind of personal truth, like we talked about earlier. So
I love that. I also love that you said that this production is relevant still, and it might be even more relevant because, as you were saying, our society has changed, and mental health is now not taboo to talk about as much as it was. And I'm just imagining folks might experience this production and leave and be like, what, maybe our family needs to talk about some stuff, so I always myself appreciate and love art that can offer some sort of potential catharsis. So
I always go back to what Shakespeare said about theater, that it holds the mirror up to nature. So in doing so, some of it's good, some of it's funny, some of it's ugly, some of it's gritty, but it's all part of that human experience. So I, as an audience member, I love shows like this. I love to be challenged as an audience member. If I want to just be entertained, I can go to King's Dominion. I like to be stirred. I like my emotions challenged as an audience member, and this play certainly does that.
Yeah, you want to leave and still be thinking about it and pondering all the lessons that you may have learned.
Absolutely.
Well, when is this happening?
Absolutely. So we officially open on July 5th. We have a couple of previews on the 2nd and the 3rd of July. So if you want to come out and see us early, you can come see us then. But we officially open on the 5th and we close on Sunday, July 21st. So it's running weekends, I think Thursday through Sunday, and we most Saturdays we have 2 performances. And you can always visit firehousetheater.org to look at tickets, get pricing, all that good stuff.
Theater as in THEATRE.
Correct.
.org.
Yeah, don't get it mixed up. It's the institution, not the physical space.
Yes.
So
And the physical space is right beside us, basically.
Right beside us here at WRIR.
1609 West Broad Street, Richmond, Virginia.
Absolutely.
hey neighbor.
Hey, neighbors.
Well, thank you both so much, David and Chelsea, for joining us today to talk about Buried Child. We're very excited for your production.
Yeah, well, definitely. Let's go see it together.
Yeah, I know. We should go see it together. We're
we
going
can
to have a
talk
great
about
time.
our families and how.
Figure out who you got to call.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate
Very
it.
glad to have been here.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so much.
you.